Nutrition in plants. The process by which an organism takes food and utilizes it is called nutrition. Organisms need energy to perform various activities. The energy is supplied by the nutrients. Organisms need various raw materials for growth and repair. These raw materials are provided by nutrients. Green plants prepare their own food. They make food in the presence of sunlight. Sunlight provides energy. Carbon dioxide and water are the raw materials, and chloroplast is the site where food is made. The process by which green plants prepare food is called photosynthesis. During this process, the solar energy is converted into chemical energy and carbohydrates are formed. Green leaves are the main sites of photosynthesis. The green portion of the plant contains a pigment chloroplast, which contains chlorophyll. The whole process of photosynthesis can be shown by the following equation. Nutrition in human beings. Human being requires food to grow, reproduce, and maintain good health. Without food, our bodies cannot stay warm, build or repair tissue, or maintain heartbeat. Eating right food avoids certain disease or recovers faster when illness occurs. Chemical substances in our food, called nutrients, fuel the other important functions. Nutrition in human beings starts from ingestion, which means taking of food into mouth, and ends with egestion, which means removal of unused food from the body. Teeth, used for biting and chewing food. Alimentary canal, it consists of several organs: esophagus, stomach, the small and large intestine, rectum, and anus. Digestive glands secrete digestive juices. Ingestion. The human beings have a special organ for the ingestion of food. It is called mouth. So, in human beings, food is ingested through the mouth. The food is put into the mouth with the help of hands. Digestion. In human beings, the digestion of food begins in the mouth itself. The mouth cavity contains teeth, tongue, and salivary glands. The teeth cut the food into small pieces, chew, and grind it. So, the teeth help in physical digestion. The salivary glands in our mouth produce saliva. Our tongue helps in mixing this saliva with food. Absorption. After digestion, the molecules of food become so small that they can pass through the walls of the small intestine and go into our blood. This is called absorption. Assimilation. Use of food for growth and energy. Egestion. Removal of undigested food from the body. Digestion in stomach. From the mouth, the food is taken to the stomach through the food pipe or esophagus. The stomach is a J-shaped sac-like muscular organ in the abdomen situated below the diaphragm. Food is temporarily stored here and the chemical digestion begins here. Food in the stomach is broken down by the action of gastric juice, which contains hydrochloric acid, and pepsin, which is an enzyme that digests protein. The stomach begins its production of gastric juice while food is still in the mouth. Nerves from the cheeks and tongue are stimulated and send messages to the brain. The brain, in turn, sends messages to nerves in the stomach wall, stimulating the secretion of gastric juice before the arrival of food. The second signal for gastric juice production occurs when food arrives in the stomach and touches the lining. Gastric juice is secreted from the linings of the stomach walls along with mucus that helps to protect the stomach lining from the action of the acid. 3 layers of powerful stomach muscles churn food into a thick liquid called chyme. From time to time, chyme is passed through the pyloric sphincter, the opening between the stomach and the small intestine. Digestion in small intestine. From the stomach, the food is moved to the small intestine. It is a very long tube, 7 meters, which originates from the distal end of the stomach and extends to the large intestine. The small intestine is the longest part of the alimentary canal and is greatly coiled and twisted. The small intestine is subdivided into 3 sections: the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. Bile emulsifies fat into microscopic droplets and thus helps in the digestion and absorption of fat. So bile is called digestive juice, though it does not contain enzyme. Again, the pancreas, a large gland located below the stomach, secretes pancreatic juice into the duodenum through the pancreatic duct. The inner lining of the small intestine is composed of up to 5 million tiny finger-like projections called villi. The villi increase the rate of absorption of nutrients into the bloodstream by greatly increasing the surface area of the small intestine. Digestion in large intestine. The unabsorbed food is sent to the large intestine. It is a wide muscular tube about 1.5 meter long and 6 centimeter diameter. It consists of cecum, vermiform appendix and rectum. It rises up on the right side of the body. The ascending colon crosses over to the other side underneath the stomach. The transverse colon descends on the left side, the descending colon, then forms an S shape, the sigmoid colon, before reaching the rectum and anus. The muscular rectum, about 6 inches long, expels feces through the anus, which has a large muscular sphincter that controls the passage of waste matter. The large intestine removes water from the waste products of digestion and returns some of it to the bloodstream. Respiration, aerobic and anaerobic. The process by which a living being utilizes the food to get energy is called respiration. Respiration is an oxidation reaction in which carbohydrate is oxidized to produce energy. Mitochondrion is the site of respiration, and the energy released is stored in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. ATP is stored in mitochondria and is released as per need. A. Breaking down glucose into pyruvate. This step happens in the cytoplasm. Glucose molecule is broken down into pyruvic acid. Glucose molecule is composed of 6 carbon atoms, while pyruvic acid is composed of 3 carbon atoms. B. Fate of pyruvic acid. Further breaking down of pyruvic acid takes place in mitochondria, and the molecules formed depend on the type of respiration in a particular organism. Respiration is of 2 types, viz. Aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration. This type of respiration happens in the presence of oxygen. Pyruvic acid is converted into carbon dioxide. Energy is released and water molecule is also formed at the end of this process. Anaerobic respiration. This type of respiration happens in the absence of oxygen. Pyruvic acid is either converted into ethyl alcohol or lactic acid. Ethyl alcohol is usually formed in case of anaerobic respiration in microbes like yeast or bacteria. Lactic acid is formed in some microbes as well as in the muscle cells. The equations for above reactions can be written as follows. Respiration in humans. The human respiratory system is composed of a pair of lungs. These are attached to a system of tubes which open on the outside through the nostrils. Following are the main structures in the human respiratory system. Nostrils. There are two nostrils which converge to form a nasal passage. The inner lining of the nostrils is lined by hair and remains wet due to mucus secretion. The mucus and the hair help in filtering the dust particles out from inhaled air. Further, air is warmed up when it enters the nasal passage. Pharynx. It is a tube-like structure which continues after the nasal passage. Larynx. This part comes after the pharynx. This is also called the voice box. Trachea. This is composed of rings of cartilage. Cartilaginous rings prevent the collapse of trachea in the absence of air. Bronchi. A pair of bronchi comes out from the trachea with one bronchus going to each lung. Bronchioles. A bronchus divides into branches and sub-branches inside the lung. Alveoli. These are air sacs at the end of bronchioles. Alveolus is composed of a very thin membrane and is the place where blood capillaries open. This is alveolus, where oxygen mixes with the blood and carbon dioxide exits from the blood. The exchange of gases in alveoli takes place due to pressure differential. Structure of the human heart. The human heart is a muscular organ that provides a continuous blood circulation through the cardiac cycle and is one of the most vital organs in the human body. The heart is an organ but made up of a collection of different tissues. It is divided into 4 main chambers. The 2 upper chambers are called the left and right atria, and 2 lower chambers are called the right and left ventricles. The walls of these chambers are made up of a special muscle called myocardium, which contracts continuously and rhythmically to distribute blood to all the body cells. The inner layer is called the endocardium and is in contact with the blood that the heart pumps. Also, it merges with the inner lining endothelium of blood vessels and covers heart valves. The pathways of blood through the human heart are part of the pulmonary and systematic circuits. These pathways include the tricuspid valve, the mitral valve, the aortic valve, and the pulmonary valve. The mitral and tricuspid valves are classified as the atrioventricular AV valves. This is because they are found between the atria and ventricles. The aortic and pulmonary semilunar valves separate the left and right ventricle from the pulmonary artery and the aorta respectively. These valves are attached to the chordae tendineae, literally the heartstrings, which anchors the valves to the papilla muscles of the heart. The interatrioventricular septum separates the left atrium and ventricle from the right atrium and ventricle, dividing the heart into 2 functionally separate and anatomically distinct units. Transportation, lymphatic system. Lymph is similar to blood, but RBCs are absent in lymph. Lymph is formed from the fluid which leaks from blood capillaries and goes to the intercellular spaces in the tissues. This fluid is collected through lymph vessels and finally returns to the blood capillaries. Lymph also plays an important role in the immune system. The main function of the lymphatic system is to extract, transport, and metabolize lymph, the fluid found in between cells. The lymphatic system is very similar to the circulatory system in terms of both its structure and its most basic function to carry a body fluid. Transportation in plants. All green plants require the food prepared by photosynthesis, other inorganic nutrients. These are absorbed from the soil by the roots as they are in contact with the soil. The materials prepared by photosynthesis and the materials absorbed by the roots should be sent to other parts of the plant, and this process is called transportation in plants. Plants have specialized vascular tissues for transportation of substances. There are two types of vascular tissues in plants, viz. Xylem and phloem. Xylem is responsible for transportation of water and minerals. It is composed of tracheids, xylem vessels, and xylem parenchyma and xylem fiber. Tracheids and xylem vessels are the conducting elements. The xylem makes a continuous tube in plants which runs from roots to stem and right up to the veins of leaves. Phloem is responsible for transportation of food. Phloem is composed of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, and bast fibers. Sieve tubes are the conducting elements in phloem. Excretory system. Cells utilize the essential substances that are carried to them by the transport system of the body. As a result of cellular metabolism, some harmful and toxic substances are also produced. Living organisms have means of getting rid of these substances. The process of getting rid of metabolic wastes is known as excretion. In unicellular plants and animals, this process takes place through diffusion. Higher animals have a very well-developed excretory system. Excretory organs include kidney, lungs, liver, and skin. If it were not for the non-stop activity of these organs, the body would be quickly poisoned by its own metabolic wastes. These organs also help in getting rid of the excess body heat. The kidney is a very complex organ and is made up of a large number of units called nephrons. A nephron has a cup-like structure called the Bowman's cup, followed by a highly coiled tube. When the blood containing metabolic waste is brought to the glomerulus, water, salts and urea are filtered here. These wastes pass through the long tubule and are poured in the pelvis, the beginning of the ureter, in the form of a liquid, the urea. When the bladder is full, urine is passed out through the urethra.